The meeting for the July 1st, 2014 City Council meeting is called to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Anthony Murrieta, would you please lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome, everybody. All right, well, let's go ahead and get started. We've got John Hutton, who's going to give our first presentation regarding Red, White, and Blues Festival, as 4th of July is right around the corner. And John, again, is our Interim Parks Director. Mr. Hutton, go ahead.
D-Day on July 4th. We are very excited. It is going to be a great show. The final preparations have been made. Everything is perfect and spot on, including my fearless prediction made over 2 months ago about the weather is going to be perfect and a little bit cooler than today. So want to focus a little bit on the entertainment that we have. Our entertainment features 7 live acts. Starts off at 4 o'clock with a great salsa band. They are fantastic. They're a headliner in their own right. We also have a Vietnamese martial arts demonstration from a gentleman in his studio named Lin Tai, who's very well known in the area. We have a Tahitian music and drumming group coming in to finish up the international portion. Then at 6 o'clock, our headliners start off with our typical fantastic blues band. We have a rhythm and blues band called Paulie O'Keefe and the Rhythm Method. They are fantastic. We always try to feature a disco act, and we have a great one called the Disco Balls. They are great, full costumes, very fun, all the songs you know. And the last act of the evening is Magic Bus, which is a famous group. They also, most of the musicians in Magic Bus are in Spike and the Impalers. They are a fantastic group. They feature a former member of the rock legend band Bad Company, a gentleman named Lynn Sorensen. So they are fantastic. Our MC this year is a new person, and we're very happy to have him. He is an internationally known performer named Alex Zerbe, and he is a self-described Zaniac. He's a wild and crazy comedian and juggler, very talented MC. He can even sing a little bit. He is very gifted. So we are very happy with the lineup of entertainment. The fireworks will be typically fantastic. We're extremely happy about that. Our soundtrack is great. It is spot on, and it was hand-selected by our mayor. So we were very happy about that. It is an excellent soundtrack. The music will be fantastic. The food vendors are all lined up. We have bounce houses this year. We have lots and lots of attractions. We'll see a lot of balloons. You'll see a lot of red, white, and balloons again this year. So for the first time actually this year. So we are extremely happy to bring to you the 21st annual Red, White, and Blues Festival. We also have a new feature this year, spearheaded by Councilmember Honda, which is our first ever children's parade. Should be an exciting addition to the event. And she is waving now a American flag for us, and those will be given out to the kids in the parade. It should be very, very fun, and we're extremely happy. So I'm happy to answer any questions for you regarding the event. I know I'll be seeing most of you, if not all of you, there. So looking very forward to seeing you.
All right. Councilmember Duclos.
Is there a schedule of this event and of the times that they're going to happen?
There is a schedule available, all the main stage schedules. It was just printed in the Mirror, and we're very happy with the Mirror has done us a great favor by being a title sponsor to the event, and they did a great splash. It's online right now, and it'll be on Friday's paper. So we're very excited about the work they did for us, and we're very pleased. Great, colorful piece. So, yeah, thank you.
Very good. Council?
It's not too late if you'd like to join the children's parade. The staging starts at 7 o'clock, and the parade itself will start at 7:30. And we are looking forward to having a lot of kids, 0 to 18 or older. It's our first parade in a lot of years, and we'd like to have a lot of fun with it.
All right. Council, any other questions? All right, and then we've got John, we're going to see you back here to talk about our town square programming and make sure we walk through that. I see actually we have a couple of Parks Commission members here. We've got our chair and another member, and it's good to see that. And we're going to talk about that during my emerging issues and report, okay?
Excellent.
So we'll call you right back up here.
Thank you.
All right. Fireworks enforcement. Chief.
Good evening, Mayor Farrell, Deputy Mayor Burbidge, and members of the council. The Federal Way Police Department would like to remind our residents that fireworks are illegal within the city limits of Federal Way, and it's been illegal for the past 21 years. We're committed to the ongoing education enforcement effort. Some of the preventative measures include a press release that went out, and there was an article in the Mayor last week. Code Red message, it's a community notification system. A message will go out tomorrow. We're notifying our residents through our Safe City program, 1,800 partners within our city, and also through our social media, Facebook and our Twitter police sites. We will respond to significant complaints regarding noise and safety concerns. We will have special firework enforcement teams out July 3rd through the 5th. And the emphasis areas will include Celebration Park, Steel Lake Park, other parks, and various neighborhoods throughout our city. Civil infractions will be issued with emphasis on enforcement and confiscation of fireworks. And civil infraction for fireworks is first violation is $100 and going all the way to $300 for the third violation. Citizens can report violations by calling 911 or calling our non-emergency dispatch number, which is 253-835-2121. And in closing, I will say that consumer fireworks are dangerous, and we would encourage our residents to come to our Red and White Blues Festival on July 4th at Celebration Park.
All right, Chief, that number one more time for folks watching at home regarding if they see fireworks violations. What's that number again?
Sure. They can call 911 or the non-emergency number, which is 253-835-2121.
All right. And so if folks are just sitting at their home and they, the fireworks start up, will that eventually, the non-emergency line, will it dispatch an officer at some point?
Absolutely. And we will have emphasis teams out for 3 days, July 3rd through the 5th. So, and during those 3 days, clearly if you call 911, call permitting, we're going to send an officer out to check. It is a priority for us to do that. And over the years with enforcement efforts, I'm being told by our officers that it is getting harder and harder to find violations. So it looks like our enforcement education effort is working within our community.
All right. Thanks, Chief. Anyone have any questions on the council? All right. Thanks, Chief. And now we've got National Night Out.
Okay, National Night Out for Federal Way is scheduled for Tuesday, August 5th, which is roughly about a month away. The Federal Way Police Department has been participating in the National Night Out since the inception of the police department. So this year will be our 18th year participating in the National Night Out. We do partner with South King Fire and Rescue and St. Francis Hospital. We'll be going out to various neighborhoods and apartment complexes throughout that evening. And the National Night Out is designed to strengthen neighborhood spirit and to build a police-community partnership and to send a strong message to criminals that the neighborhoods are organized and taking a strong stand against crime. On average year, we have 20 to 25 neighborhoods and apartment complexes participating in this event. On an average citizen, we have roughly 750 to 900 residents that participate each year. We currently have 13 communities that are registered for 2014, and this number will increase significantly in the month of July. And currently, if there are neighborhoods or others that want to participate in the National Night Out, they can certainly sign up online on the city website or contact Lindsay Thoreau, who's our crime analyst prevention specialist, and she can be reached at 253-835-6707. And here's a list of the 13 either neighborhoods or apartment complexes or condos that have signed up. So far, we have 6 residential neighborhoods that have signed up, and 7 either apartment or condo complexes that have signed up to participate in the National Night Out. And we will provide this complete list to you as the event draws a little closer on August 5th. That concludes my presentation unless you have any questions.
Council, any questions? All right. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
All right. And we changed the date of our city council meeting to accommodate this, so our council and our community can be fully involved. So thank you, council, for doing that. And Betty, we listened very carefully, so thank you very much for your leadership on this issue. All right. Now we are to the Town Square Park update. Ken? And then we're going to talk about Town Square Park programming a little bit down below. But Mr. Miller.
Good evening, Ken Miller. Good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, council members. There on the cover there's a pretty nice picture of the park progressing very nicely. This is from up above. You can see the pea patch area here with the pea patch planters in there. You can see the red and the blue planters, and you can barely see the chessboards. But the good news is it's time to cut the grass. The grass has grown very well, and it's growing so much we have to cut it. Here are the chessboards. The 2 chessboards have been painted. The chess pieces are here. We should have a few of them here tomorrow.
And Ken, we talked about this at management team. They're not life-size, right? How big are these pieces?
They're not quite life-size. They vary in size. The bigger pieces, the king, for instance, is like 25 inches, and then I think the rooks are like 18, 17 and a half, 18 inches. So pretty good size, but not quite life-size.
All right, so about 2 feet.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So here's the chess boards. There'll be benches here on either side of the chess boards. Here's the planters are in and have been painted the razzmatazz red, and we have the plants in them. Over time, you'll see the plants grow over. This isn't a paint; it's a stain, so it gives it more the kind of terracotta look of a planter. The basketball court, the basketball hoops are up. The courts are being painted as we speak. We're waiting for a little bit of paint to come in, or quite a lot of paint actually. This is the maze between the 2 courts. So the maze has been laid out. It gets painted. The labyrinth, which is a little bit south of the court, is also laid out. Also in the background, you can see the retaining wall that was painted very kindly by Lowe's volunteers. So Lowe's came in, I think there were 6 or 7 of them, and not only did they volunteer to paint it, but they provided the paint. So Lowe's painted it and provided the primer to paint it. So that was a pretty nice deal. And that's all I have for you tonight on the park. And it's on schedule, and the grand opening's on the 12th, and John has some programming.
That's great. Councilmember Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ken, obviously the concern I've heard over the last several weeks is the basketball courts. And is there a plan put in place that's going to assure the public that there's not going to be any negative behavior and even vandalism of the basketball? I'm not a basketball player. What do you call that? Basketball, the hoops? Because I understand there's various different types of hoops, and durable and not so durable. So there's kind of 2 questions in there.
Well, the backboards are very durable. They're metal. They're the backboards. We kind of use a standard backboard, and that is the standard we use. Very durable. It's also adjustable, so we have at times lowered the hoops to discourage bad behavior. John is going to talk about programming. If we program the park and encourage families to come there, the thought is you don't get the bad element because they don't like hanging around the family. So they'll be talking about programming. Then I know the police also has a plan that they're developing with parks to make sure that element is discouraged from the beginning.
That's right. Actually, if I could go right to this point, the Chief of Staff, Brian Wilson, and I attended the Parks Commission meeting, I believe it was on June 5th, and one of the key components, one of the key feedbacks that they had there, and we'd been thinking about this as well, but really they drove the point home, was that we needed to make sure that we program this location very carefully, that we have activities going on here, that we monitor this, and so that's one of the reasons why, that's frankly one of the reasons why John Hutton became our interim parks director, is because he has spent the past 20 years in parks programming, and we've got a whole plan of events that he's going to roll out today that will proactively address that. But additionally, actually, I've tasked the Chief of Police to give us a safety plan for this park, and then thirdly, we are moving cameras around to ensure that that park will be visually safe as well, and that if anything happens to that park, that we're paying attention to that area. And I think Councilmember Duclos has a comment.
Just to follow up on that, and nighttime activity.
Right.
So will this deter nighttime activity there?
It should. I mean, that's a key thing. This is going to be very close to the police substation. The park will be closed at night. All parks close at dusk, and so that's part of the safety plan, that there should be no one inside the park after night, or after night falls. Go ahead.
Just a second. Has there ever been thought of putting signage saying that kind of talk about crime will not be allowed here, negative activities? I assume that there's a history of that. If you put signage in a place that has some sort of deterrence on crime.
We're actively, I think that's a great idea. We're going to continue working with the Parks Commission about making sure that kind of signage, whether it's, I remember actually I had Judge Larson in, and he wanted to make sure that there was a no spitting sign, because apparently spitting is a big deal at the Sound Transit parking garage. And I said, well, Your Honor, I'm not sure we're going to have a spitting sign, but we're going to have signs around about, and there's going to be a lot of signs about that this is under surveillance and that there are cameras there. And I would also say that while we have the plan is, and what we're doing now is hoops and basketball courts there, that's not the long-term, 5 years from now, 2 years from now. We're actually working with Lake Haven Water Utility District. They're contemplating donating $600,000 of equipment to make this area right there a splash park. And so this park is going to evolve over time. Of course, anything that we do from now on is going to be in conjunction and with the buy-off and input of the Parks Commission. And so it's good to see the Parks Commission members here. So what we want to do is make sure this got started and that we're up and running on this. But moving forward, it's going to be very much a collaborative effort. Yeah. And Council, any other questions? All right. Thank you, Ken. All right. And now we have our own Councilmember Kelly Maloney talking about the Branding Ad-Hoc Committee report, of which she chairs.
Thank you, Mayor. And let's see. I want to thank the Mayor and the Council for letting me present this status report of the Rebranding Ad-Hoc Committee. Let's see, trying to figure out how to navigate this thing. I just want to give you a little bit of background. In 2013, the Council approved allocating $25,000 from the city's 2014 biennium budget in order to accomplish phases 1 and 2, and there are a total of 3, for the city's rebranding initiative. And in April 2014, Deputy Mayor Jean Burbidge assigned myself as chair and Councilmember Deanie Duclos and Councilmember Susan Honda as the Rebranding Ad Hoc Committee. So I'm not going to read through all of this, but anyone who's interested, you're more than welcome to get a copy of this. And basically, it just talks a little bit about what branding is and how it can effectively change either an organization or a community or whatever, and act as a catalyst for many things. In addition, you can create. You can almost make it an asset for your organization or your municipality. And that's really where we want to go with this. We want to identify the positives. We actually have to identify the negatives as well, but in order to get to our messaging. But we want to identify all of these things through what's called a SWOT analysis and through surveys and focus groups and so on and so forth. And then what we do is we take this information and we distill it and we figure out what our messaging is, what our positioning is. We identify whether we need to look at changing the logo, look at changing, the tagline of the city, that kind of thing. So there's a lot of work that goes into it. And the purpose right here of the branding, as I've written, is to overcome a negative image. This is specific to the City of Federal Way. To retrain and attract businesses, to increase the availability and of a diversity of jobs, so all level of jobs, from retail to doctors and so on and so forth. To attract private development, increase community pride, increase events held in the city for tourism, and overall, the ultimate goal of rebranding the city is to increase prosperity for all residents through the outcomes that we are able to derive. So the approach that we're taking, as I mentioned, is going to be in 3 phases. We'll be starting out the first phase, which is called the determination phase, rather quickly, actually. The Ad-Hoc committee will be meeting at least monthly going forward to determine the components of this phase. So as I mentioned, we'll probably be doing surveys, focus groups. We may do questions at community meetings or questions at, actually I think I have this later. Here we go. So the first ones of these are what's called qualitative analysis. So focus groups, social media surveys, insights through questionnaires at community events, in the local newspaper, over social media, etc. As well as a SWOT, which is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And if we have enough money, we can conduct scientific surveys, which are quantitative. And so when we put all of that information together, we can determine really where we need to go as a city in terms of our messaging and kind of reinvigorating our image. So projected outcomes of phase 1 will be this is all assessing this, okay? So none of this is predetermined. We will decide based on the information we get whether we need to change the name of the city, whether we need to create a new logo, whether we need to create a new tagline. Right now our tagline is, it's all within reach. Does that really resonate with our stakeholders? Is it something that we want to be, putting out there to all of our stakeholders? So our positioning statements, there's something called brand promise. We'll identify that as well. And then we'll look at the graphic standards. So the fonts that we use, the colors that we use, the typography, all of that kind of stuff will be assessed, and we'll determine whether it really reflects who we as a community think we are and want to be. So part of phase 1 also includes brand hierarchy. So once we answer some of these kind of foundational questions, we start looking at the city as a whole. We look at the different entities that we have. We look at, for instance, the community center, Celebration Park. Even though the Aquatics Center isn't owned by us, we do manage it or partially manage it. So we look at how all of those kind of interrelate, and the messaging that goes along with them. Is it complementary, or is it, how do we make everything work together for the benefit of the city and the community? So then we will also look at the mission and the vision of the city. We'll identify whether those elements are out of date or if they just need to be massaged a little. And basically, a vision statement is your kind of forward-thinking idea of where you want to be in the next 10 or 20 years, something like that. We need to determine, is our vision statement for the city as a whole, is it out of touch with where we are right now? Does it need to be updated? and the mission statement, we can take a look at that as well. And none of this is done in a vacuum, just so you know. This is all done with input from all of our stakeholders. So we will just be kind of organizing it, but we will be hopefully hearing from everybody. Phase 2 is strategic and tactical direction. So we'll take the information that is derived in Phase 1, and we will create the kind of a plan, a strategic plan moving forward. So with that plan, we implement, or we identify tactical ways to implement all of the changes if we have a lot of changes, and we have a budget and a timeline associated with that, along with people who will be implementing it. So anyway, just kind of rolling through that quickly. The last phase is the implementation phase, and this is further down the road. And basically, it's how do we implement all of these changes. So if we have signage that needs to be changed, do we do it all at one time, or do we wait until we need new signing for a certain location, and so on and so forth. So there are a lot of decisions that have to be made. If you know, and I'm just throwing out signage, it doesn't even mean that we'll necessarily have to do new signage. It's just an example. The next steps, Ad Hoc Rebranding Committee will meet at least once monthly, as I mentioned. Community input is always welcomed, and it is very much encouraged. And we will report to the council as the first elements of Phase 1 are conducted, but we'll be also working hand in hand with the mayor and with council and with the community and all of our other stakeholders all along the way. And I just want to give one illustrative point about how a brand or rebranding can really make a difference for an organization, or in this case, a municipality. So at Orion Industries, where I was until Friday, the Director of Marketing and Communications, I just resigned from that position, but I still love them. Before I started working there, they had never had marketing or branding. When we instituted that 2 years ago, we recreated the brand, and you know, they just kind of had something they'd worked with for years. But over the last 2 years, we have implemented a brand that resonates with all of our stakeholders, so government officials, the communities that that Orion works in, the staff members, and so on and so forth. And now that brand, Orion Industries, has a great deal of market penetration, and it really it resonates with everyone who they understand it. And there was a huge learning curve, an educational component that went with helping people understand really what that company does. And so you kind of identify all of these things, and then you move forward to help your stakeholders understand and perceive you the way you want to be perceived. So thank you.
Well, Councilmember Maloney, well, first of all, I'd like to say, before you run back up here,
Yeah.
thank you very much for your work on this. Thank you very much for taking a leadership role. You know, she did such a great job at the Orion grand opening that not only did she have the governor there, but the King County executive and dozens of folks there. So
600, more than 600 people. So
Wow.
it was really cool.
Yeah.
Just to brag for a second. But
Kind of a
it
big
was
deal.
fun. It was a big deal, and I appreciate that. Thank you. So if anyone has questions.
we do. Councilmember Selsky.
Oh, thank you, Mayor Farrell. I guess I'll lead it off. Hey, Kelly, I really value your experience and you stepping up to take this leadership role with the group that you're leading in this direction. But just a question, and I know nothing about rebranding, but
Sure.
do we consider such factors as livability factors, our education, our crime statistics, you know, and safety in rebranding in any way?
Yes, absolutely. So when we do the SWOT analysis, hopefully we'll do some competitive analyses along with that. So we'll look at the municipalities that surround us, and we'll kind of determine based on you know, those benchmarks for them and where we are. And if we come out ahead, that is something that we can consider in our branding initiatives and our messaging that we message out.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great,
So,
thank you.
And obviously, if we come out behind, we might want to look at that.
That's,
So,
okay,
yeah.
thanks.
All right, thank you, Council. Any other questions? I'd also like to thank Councilmember Honda and Councilmember Duclaw for your role on this committee as well. And as we move forward, this will dovetail nicely into my emerging issues and report. We are actually going to be going forward in a visioning process that in our next 2 city council meetings in regard to economic development. We are in the process right now of searching for and then interviewing and ultimately hiring a new economic development director position. But in conjunction with that, we're going to be, why don't actually, our Chief of Staff, Brian Wilson, can you outline the process that we're going to be proceeding forward in conjunction with this rebranding effort?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have 2 study sessions planned, and what we recognize is the importance of council participating in the vision and setting the stage for us to, as a community, to identify what our goals are for economic development. Some of the items that were spoken by Council Member Maloney, in addition to what elements of our downtown, of our city, are available to us to market in terms of business development opportunities, not only for today, but for 5 years and for the long term as well. So we look forward to initiating that process on July 15th.
And then I would imagine that meeting would probably start at 5 or 5:30?
5:30.
Okay. And that's a great opportunity for folks to really plug in, but it's just the beginning, because one of the things we're going to be doing then is using that input to launch into an effort in the fall where we bring together a larger group. Did you touch on that at all?
Well, we've talked about our Economic Development Summit, and to bring forward community leaders and bring forward the community to focus on our economic development strategy for implementation in 2015.
So representatives of this council, the school district, the chamber, originally we were sort of circling around, Blue Ribbon Panel 2, but I think that it's going to be a much more, we want to keep away from sequel titles, much more like an economic development council. What did the chamber call it when you guys did it? A strike?
Strike force.
Yeah, strike. That's kind of dramatic. We'll think of something really clever, and arguably, and we'll move forward. We're going to get buy-in from a lot of folks in the community and talk about how we can position ourselves as a community, as a council, in which we're truly driving economic development, and that's something I'll watch for as we move into the fall. So, name to be forthcoming. Any questions about that process, you guys? Okay, but these 2 meetings that we have, both on the 15th and on the 13th, we thought it was so, in talking to the council before we just announced the creation of another committee, we wanted to, start here with the council, and then this is not going to be a mayor's committee. This is going to be the City of Federal Ways Committee, and council and mayor linking up arms, moving forward. So that's what we're doing. Okay, so Town Square Park programming. Mr. Hutton, you are on. Tell us about these basketball courts.
One moment. Thank you again, Mr. Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and members of City Council. I am pleased to be able to tell you about some of the developments that we have going at Town Square Park regarding programming. First of all, though, I'd like to talk to you about the exciting show that we have planned for the grand opening itself. We are bringing all of the festivity and all of the excitement from the Red, White, and Blues Festival over the very next week to the grand opening. We have live music, we have food, we have balloons, we have things for the kids to do, we have inflatables, we have unbelievable attractions for the kids, and kids of all ages, by the way. The music, I guarantee you will like. We have 2 straight-ahead rock and roll bands. We have a Zydeco band out of New Orleans that we're very excited about. They're very fun. And we have Federal Way's own Dan Peterson, who is a Elvis impersonator of the top notch. Very, very good. We're very happy to have him. He's a gentleman that I've known for many years, and we're very excited to be able to bring him out. He's excited to be able to play in his own hometown, and so if you have any Elvis favorites, he will play requests for you. So we are excited about the grand opening on that day. It is from 12 to 4 on the 12th. Some of the other things I'd like to talk about for programming, some of the things have been touched on by Ken Miller, and I wanted to talk to you about the chess sets that we have out there, that's going to be a central figure in the park. Chess is going to be a big draw in there. We have the oversized chess pieces. They're not quite as big as the ones depicted here in the photos, but they are pretty big.
Those are almost life-size.
Those are almost life-size. Ours are not that big. I'd like to reiterate, before I switch this, they are smaller, but they will be a lot of fun. Those are well over 3.5 feet tall. Ours are about 25 inches. So we will also have side table games going on, including some speed chess. I've been doing some research on speed chess where you get 30 seconds to make a move. So it's very fun. We'll have kind of a chess excitement going on there. Believe it or not, people absolutely come out and watch the big matches go on, and there's a lot of kibitzing going on, and no golf etiquette. You can actually talk about, oh, that's a bad move. So that'll be fun. So we're excited about that. We'll also have other board games going on the side tables that are there, including Mahjong, dominoes, and checkers. There'll be all kinds of fun games for people to play of all ages. We're looking for some intergenerational programming here where grandparents are playing with kids, teaching the game to young people. There'll be a lot of excitement around the chess piece, so we're happy about that. We will be bringing in volleyball tournaments. Volleyball will be out there every day. We have a grass net set up that we can move around on the grass. Grass tournaments are a big draw. In Olympia, they have over 200 teams on the Capitol lawn. It's very exciting, and you can play 2s, 3s, 4s. There's all kinds of opportunity with volleyball. We can bring in some clinics with the local high schools. We already have an inroads in there, so we'll be doing some volleyball programming in there. So we're very happy about the volleyball. Our next piece of programming, we will be having music. Music will be featured obviously in the grand opening, but we plan to bring music in. We currently run a Summer Sounds at the Beach concert series that starts on July 9th. So we don't want to compete with our own concert series, but we may do some things at noon, do some things on the weekend, little impromptu concerts, play to the crowd that's there. It should be a lot of fun, and we're excited about music. You can never have too much music in a park. There's so much variety and there's so much local talent, people that just want to be showcased. So it should be a good big piece of our park. We have yoga demonstrations coming out, and we'll also have yoga class. We've already started registering for a yoga class in the park. We're very happy about that. That has been currently run successfully at Steel Lake Park, Yoga at the Beach. We're actually moving it over to Town Square Park, and so that's had a track record of success, and we're very happy about that. There's lots of different spin-offs of yoga, many different forms of yoga, and so we will definitely have a yoga presence out there. Tai Chi demonstrations. We're looking forward to bringing Tai Chi. We have current drop-in programs over at the community center, so we'll be bringing in some Tai Chi. Again, a great art and very, very popular in lots of cultures, and we're very happy to be able to bring that in on that beautiful new grass. Our next thing we'll be having at the actual grand opening is inflatable bouncers, which we talked about. Those are fun for kids of all ages. They'll have a great time. We have a giant UFO feature that's very, very fun. And the second thing we have is a giant inflatable obstacle course that'll be really fun. The kids love that. So we are definitely encouraging picnicking in the park around that music, around the chess. There's lots of good reasons to picnic in all of our parks, and we definitely want Town Square to be a big part of a picnicking culture in the area. So we're happy to have that opportunity for people. We will also feature food trucks at the, not only at the grand opening, but an ongoing presence, so people can stop in, get a bite to eat, enjoy it in the park, have a great time. So we're very happy, and I spoke with Roselle tonight. We are very happy to be announcing that the Farmers Market will be returning to Town Square Park next year. So we're very, very happy. We have a great area just on the southeast portion of the park that's nice and flat. It's very, very good. It should be awesome. People can come in and have the day in the park, enjoying the amenities in the park itself, as well as the Farmers Market, grab a bite to eat. It should be a very fun event each week. We have community gardens, as Ken Miller mentioned, the pea patches, the raised garden beds that are depicted somewhat like in this picture. There's lots of different opportunities. We're exploring opportunities to work with different community gardens in the area, community garden programs. There's lots of options to feed the people who need the extra food, and also do their own gardening for their own table, as well as flower gardens, which could add a lot of color and a lot of fun. Again, an intergenerational programming opportunity where we get master gardeners in the area to come in and work with young people, teach the joy of gardening, and have a good time doing it, and see the fruits of their labor come true. So we're happy about that opportunity. Basketball was mentioned in several areas, and I can address some of Councilmember Moore's concerns. Basketball is a great sport. I'm a longtime basketball guy, a 25-year varsity official. I believe in the game. I coach the game. The game is a beautiful game, and it can be a very fun activity. You're absolutely right. We're very conscious of any impression that we don't want any negative behavior whatsoever. And I think we can accomplish that. We have it well-staffed. We'll be keeping an eye on behavior on the court, appropriate behavior, and I don't believe it's going to be a problem. I'm willing to say we're going to take care of that. We're working closely with our own police department to make sure that basketball is a fun and safe amenity in the park, and the game is played correctly, and everybody has a good time, and that appropriate behavior is modeled every day. So we'll be sure that basketball is a fun portion in the park. We'll have at least one of the hoops drop down to a very low height for little kids to enjoy and learn to shoot properly. So proper technique is being done. On the programming end, we are bringing in one of our leading coaches from over at the community center. He's going to be doing free basketball clinics for little kids, which is a great way for kids to get better at the game really quick under some really good coaching, really keeping it fun. And moms and dads are welcome to come out and pick up pointers on how to effectively coach their own kids and teach proper form and proper technique, because the game is a difficult game to play, but if you get proper coaching early and you learn proper technique, you're very successful very quickly. So we'll be doing all kinds of ball handling clinics, shooting clinics, defense clinics. We'll be doing all kinds of fun stuff, and I'll probably even volunteer to do an officiating class, because we need more officials out there in the world. Yes, Martin Moore.
Will the mayor be playing basketball?
Oh, absolutely. Brian and Andy and I are going to do will probably be a 3-on-3 tournament.
Great. Can I join?
Absolutely.
I'm not sure we come up with a name for that team yet. We'll have to work on that.
I'm working on one.
Okay, excellent. So that pretty much concludes my presentation on the programming that day. I'm happy to answer any questions. One of the other things I'd like to address is you mentioned signage. We are working hard right now to work on some signage that will outline what is and what isn't appropriate behavior, and what the consequences are for inappropriate behavior. So we're working on that with the PD and our legal department to make sure that we are getting the right word out there, and so people know what the expectation is, that everybody has a great time in our downtown park.
Councilmember Honda.
You know, basketball hoops have come up frequently and questions directed towards me, but one question is about fencing around the basketball areas, how to keep the balls inside where they're supposed to be. I know we're not intending to put fencing up, but do you have a solution to that?
I don't believe we have a solution for that. I don't think it's going to be that big a problem. Basketball players are pretty fit, and it's just part of their cardio workout.
I don't play basketball.
Keep it on the court or chase it. So yeah.
I can tell you that actually, if you take a look at the picture right there at the bottom, just the topography. On the north side, you've got a wall. Mm-hmm. On the east side, you've the wall and the fence. It's actually already fenced. On the west side, you just got to have that parking lot, and on the south side, you're going to have the market and essentially empty parking lot. So I actually, on paper, it looks like it would be like the ball would go into the street, but unless it bounced 8 or 9 feet up, it's not going to jump over that fence. So it actually is already fenced.
I'm not thinking of going outside of the park. I'm thinking of it rolling into where the parking is and where cars are driving. That's what I was thinking of. But
the only way it can really roll away, as Mayor Farrell pointed out, is it can roll south a little bit, but they're going to chase it down pretty quickly. They'll put the fastest guy on that.
All right, Councilmember Selski.
Thank you, Mayor Farrell. Thanks, John, for that enthusiastic presentation. Thank you. And I tell you what, I'm really glad to see that the farmers market will or may locate there next year. I think that's one of the visions of this park. That's really exciting. The farmers market has been successful. It's grown, and we've seen that over the years. Is there, 2 questions, is it anticipated there's enough room for all the vendors, and and tables that we anticipate being, and if they do continue to grow, would they ever grow and take over the basketball court areas?
It's funny you say that. I could answer that. I think right now, I think we've got actually have Rose and her family here, but I think the space we've got right now will suffice. But I think we do have the ability for market events to take over the basketball courts if necessary, and that'll give us plenty of room on those days. But John, is that what you were going to say?
That's right about where I was at. Exactly.
It is now. Yeah, exactly. No, seriously. I'm sorry.
I agree 100%. I believe we have enough room now, and we have room to grow within the park. There's plenty of room to grow. We can grow to the north, and that's a good problem to have. If we're growing on Farmers Market, that's a really good indication that people have embraced the park, embraced the Farmers Market, which they already have. I think it's a big draw to the park, and people are going to go, wow, this is awesome. We got a place for the kids to play some ball while we're doing some quick shopping. I think it's going to be a great amenity and a great addition to what's already happened in the park on a beautiful day.
It's a huge site, actually, because you've got essentially 4 quarters, and each quarter is about an acre. And so we actually were going to build, part of the original plan was to build a stage in the southeast corner, if you were to go to the left here, and that was going to be for the market. But that was going to be about a $20,000 to $25,000. Ken, is that about right? Okay. And we thought, well, we've got our own temporary stage that we can either move over to the grass or that corner. But I think in the future, as this develops and grows, we may end up constructing a stage in that bottom corner. But the topography kind of drops off. You've got a little bit of a slant right there, going southward. So that's why the basketball courts are up in that corner. It's pretty flat there. But I think we've got a lot of, we've got a couple of acres there to work with. All right, Council, any other questions? All right, thank you, John.
Thank you very much.
All right. New market tax credits. Ade Arevalo and our Chief of Staff, Brian Wilson. All right, Ade, our Finance Director, is making his way to the podium. And then Ken, you're on deck. Mr. Miller. And for those keeping score at home and also present tonight, we say new market tax credits. What we're referring to is that money that is that we are seeking from the federal government for the Performing Arts and Conference Center, of which we passed several weeks ago, a month now. So, Ade, go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, Council. Ade Arevalo for the city. We had a meeting with Michelle Moulin, who is our consultant, last week to brief us on the status on the new market program. And she went to Washington, D.C. to attend a conference and also to sell our program. I think it was very informative. The 2014 allocation came out just last month in June. Based on the guidelines that they have, they are still going through the first tier or the first round of allocation. The way it works, people that get the allocation before they apply for the allocation, usually they have some programs in the pipeline and they want to fund that quickly. So that is the first tier that they do, and that is what they are doing now. To make sure you get onto that first tier, they want to make sure the program that you have is ready. What does that mean? That means you have all your permits, you have all your funding, you have all of that lined up. So, we missed that a little bit, but now we're into the second round, which is, what is the second round? When they have funding, say, for 5 entities, and towards the end, 1 or 2 of those entities cannot or is now ready for the funding. Now they look for, okay, now who else is ready that I can fund? And they will do that before the end of the year. That is what we're shooting for, which I think, based on the action that the council took in the past few weeks, put us in a better position, because by the council authorizing the project, by the council taking action on the interfund loan today, you're saying you're ready. By some of the things that the council has done, that put us in the ready mode, which is really, really good. Also, in addition to getting ready for the second round, as a backup plan, we're also getting ready for the 2015 allocation. How does the 2015 allocation work, or the next allocation? The people, or the people that will get the allocation usually will have projects in their portfolio to apply. So when they go to Congress or whatever to go apply for this funding, they already have some programs in their portfolio. So that is what we will also be getting ready for the 2015, to make sure that we're ready for any of these investors to have our projects. Some of the factors that will help us is the type of project, which our project is really good. The location is located in downtown. The readiness, again, by the actions that the council took in the past few weeks, put us in the readiness. The allocation, that means how much is allocated and who gets this allocation. Keep in mind that there are so many projects throughout the country and all over the country competing for this as well. So where we are now, we are pursuing the second round or the second tier. And again, we are keeping an eye on the 2015 allocation, which we are really in a good position for. So with the interfund loan, as we are now, actually another advantage to where we are now is if we were to have that allocation today, that means we will have to have all the money in the bucket today. And the interfund loan interest also will start tickling. By having this delayed, that actually gives us some breathing time to be able to go after the donation, to be able to also use the interfund loan as a drawdown as needed, and relieves a little bit of pressure. So I think actually that's a good thing the way we are.
That's positive thinking. Glass is half full. A couple quick questions. So if we had waited to do the Performing Arts and Conference Center to find out whether we got the new market tax credits, what do you think our chances would have been on getting any allocation?
Zero. Actually, by waiting, say, well, we will not do anything, we will wait till we get the allocation. That puts us out of the game.
Readiness.
Because one of the factors that they use is the readiness. Are you ready? I think, are you doing something? So if that indication is not there, we're not even in the game.
Now, let's assume, I've got just a couple of questions, because these are the questions I was asking during the session with Ms. Moreland, and that these, I thought that if you guys were there, these were questions you would have immediately asked. The second thing is, let's assume that we don't get the second tier, as we end the tour, as these CDEs need to start making allocations as the end of the year approaches. Let's assume for one reason or another we don't even get the second, the second tour, if you will, or the second batch. Would we be eligible for next year's allocations?
Yes, that is what I have in here as keeping an eye on the 2015. And actually, yes, we will be eligible for that, and we will actually be in a better position for that. Because now there are certain things that they are saying you need to do to show you are ready. As of this time last year, we haven't done any of those, either because of our own internal process. But now, with the council vote, with the interfund loan, with some of the permits that we have, it puts us absolutely ready for that and in play for 2015 allocation.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Honda.
Thank you, Ade, for your presentation. I am somewhat disappointed. This isn't what I think as a council we were told what could happen. So we don't have the new market tax credits at this point, and it could be springtime before we find out. Is that correct?
To find out for the 2015?
To find out if we, so the second tier, when would we find out if we qualified at that point?
That would take place by December.
By December, okay. My second question is, the donations that people have signed as a piece of paper saying that they're willing to donate to the Performing Arts and Conference Center. When will those, when will people start paying into what they have said that they were going to donate? When will that go into the bank account?
I think we were trying to meet with them and figure that out. I'll let Patrick.
Will that help as we are going forward with this process?
Yes, I think if we get that donation, yes, that will further reduce our need for or the pressure for whatever needs that we have. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Councilmember
Maloney.
Maloney.
Thank you. Well, you know, we never did, you know, there was never any guarantee, obviously, that we were going to get the new markets tax credits. What I did not understand is that there were two different tiers and two different times that the money would be allocated, and I do understand that now. And I understand what you said, we're in a better position going forward if we continue to move forward on different things and have more money, more funds. If we are allocated in the second tier, would we be given the percentage amount relative to how much money we have, or is it at their discretion to give us a percentage of that percentage, or?
In the second, the way it works, I think the 7.2 that we have in the budget, that is the maximum.
Mm-hmm.
I think that amount is still good or even higher. We're eligible. Now, whether we get that 7.2 depends on how much is left after the first year or after the first year for allocation before December. And if during the second tier, even if we have allocation and the amount is small, we may also elect, we'll roll and wait till the 2015, where there will be fresh allocation as well.
Are we in a better position going for 2015 since we went for 2014, and you know, in regard to other places that may be coming in fresh at that point?
Yeah, I think we're better off to go after 2014 and still need to go after 2015 to keep all the options open.
I mean, are we positioned better than another city that maybe didn't go forward, didn't apply in 2014?
Okay, I think now we're better than, because of all the things that you have done as council, I think we're better than anybody that is trying to step into the game now that may not have all of his stuff together. So if we were to even wait till 2015 and you're thinking that we'll be competing with somebody else, if that person or that entity is similar to what we went through, that means they would not be ready. That means we'll be ahead of them.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Duclos.
I just wanted to reiterate what was just said, because at the Multi-Service Center, we did housing, and I applied many times for the low-income housing tax credit. And you wanted to get your application in, even if you knew you weren't going to get the funding that round, because that starts you down the path. They then know you, they know what you're doing, and then the next round, they expect to see it coming in and much ready. The big thing is they want to get the money out. They don't want it sitting there. They want it to get into a project. But they also want to know that you're going to be there and it's a viable project. So this is pretty common for someone to submit so that they can look at it and see it and become familiar with it, but not fund it. But the next round, your chances are much greater because they know you're going to be further down the road And so I think that we'll probably, if we don't get into the second round, we definitely will get it in 2015. So I'm glad to see that we're pursuing this, and this is what specifically new market tax credits are targeted for, economic development in cities like Federal Way.
That's right. Thank you. Councilmember
Great,
Selsky.
thank you, Mayor Farrell, and thank you, Ade. So a follow-on even to that, we're looking at approving a 3-year loan here. So let's say in 2014 we're unsuccessful, 2015 we may be unsuccessful. We could still apply in 2016, 2017, and I would think we'd be in a much better position because by then we have the facility built and probably already in operation. So is there anything that would prevent us from continuing to apply until we get it? Or if we don't get the complete loan, maybe in 1 year, trying to continue to get the complete 7.2.
Yeah, I think especially before we complete the project, also keep in mind while we're going for the next 18 months, also our revenue source also are coming in. So even the need, because the snapshot that we gave you is as of the 2014. This is how much we have. So in 2015, the city itself, what the city has may also be different. And whereas the needs for the loan may also be less.
Okay, great, thank you.
Councilmember Maloney.
One question for clarification. To Councilmember Selsky's point, isn't the new markets tax credits for construction only, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, it is for construction.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And that is what I mean by, as you know, if we can apply before we finish the construction.
Okay.
So the moment the construction is done and we're into operation, then
Okay.
might be a different story.
And we'll likely open, we'll finish around September 2016, October, I would imagine, because what we want to do is hit the holiday season for 2016. And so we'll likely open October, November of 2016. So we've got, if there's June allocations, you know, I think if we get down to the very, very end of the tether, if you will, you know, we would get there'd be we'd be eligible for the first round. Allocations usually come in June, and then there's a possibility if we didn't get it in 16, then in 17, or excuse me, if we didn't get it in 15, then 16 would be, yeah. So we're still alive. Councilmember Honda.
So as we go through the construction, and if we get these towards the end of construction, would you think we would get less because we've already spent the money?
No.
It's possible to get the 7.2 that we're requesting at that point?
No, it would not affect what we get as long as we haven't finished the construction.
Okay.
Because the amount that we're eligible is based on the size of the project and based on the available allocation. So if we're still in the construction phase, we're good.
Part of what I learned during this meeting is that you've got to cobble together as many of these, you know, CDs as possible to where, you know, 7.2 is the maximum because that represents the total 32 million. But you know, maybe what happens is we're able to cobble together enough CDs to make either 20, 25, 28, whatever that is, and then the proportional monies that would be granted to us would be commensurate. So, you know, 7.2 is obviously the most preferred, but there's all kinds of, we want to make sure we're not promising 7.2. What we're doing is we're saying we're searching with every due diligence we possibly can the allocations for these, and we'll continue to do so. And we'll continue to keep you updated. But we've got our best man on it, so thank you, Ade.
Thank you.
Council, any other questions about this? All right. Oh, before we leave, can you briefly talk about the Section 108? We did get good news from Senator Murray regarding a preliminary finding that they had put aside or funded the fund for $3 million or 3.3.
Yeah, I think I understand it's $3 million, and the consultant has also sent to us some of the steps that we need to take to make this a reality. And starting from tomorrow, the city staff will be coordinating with the consultant to make sure all of those steps that we're supposed to take have been taken, are assigned to people, and we're following up to make sure we make that a reality as soon as we can. Yes.
So I think she was very careful to say, even though the fund has been funded by the federal government, or will likely be, we still have to, in order to draw down that fund, we've got a whole bunch of steps we've got to do, and Aday and our team are on it. So I wanted to give you an update on that. That was great news, and
Yes.
we owe Senator Murray and her staff a big thanks. All right. Lastly, any other questions about that? All right. Thank you very much, Aday. Good work. Mr. Miller, Ken Miller, Toys R Us demolition.
Thank you, my pen.
Good evening again, and just a quick presentation, a quick update on the Toys R Us demolition. You better take a look at this building pretty quick, take your photos, say your goodbyes, because next week we're going to be demolishing it. And July 10th, 2014 at 10 a.m. if you come out there. I'm not sure exactly what we're going to have yet, maybe a ribbon. You won't get to drive the backhoe. But it's only going to take 2 or 3 days to take the building down, but then it's going to take a week or two to haul it away, and then another week or so to demolish the slab. So the building's going to go down fast.
So we're going to have like kind of an event?
Yeah, I'm not sure if there's going to be cookies there, but there'll probably be a ribbon and some hard hats and maybe a gold shovel. And I'm not sure if they'll give us the keys or not. They haven't told me yet.
All right.
But it'll be a fun deal, and like I said, it'll go down fast. But you know, I'm sure they won't want us real close when that happens.
All right, Councilmember Selsky.
Yes, thank you, Ken. So are we going to see anything really dramatic, like when the Kingdom went down?
No.
With all this dust and all
Well,
this?
maybe a little dust, but no, it won't be real dramatic. Like you said, they'll I know they've got to sort it out. The roof will go one place, and the blocks will go to Lloyd's, and there's some metal. There's even a stairs in there that we are going to get, a metal stair that goes to the roof in Toys R Us building that we'll be using at Celebration Park. So everyone gets a little bit of the building.
Now tell us, we've got on 5E for the consent agenda. How does that relate with, the original plan was to take down just the bricks and mortar of the building. What's 5E?
Originally, you know, the building has obviously seen better days, and it is aesthetically and safety-wise is a hazard. So the original project budget was $150,000 to do the work, and we received a very favorable bid from Lloyd's of $68,109. So there's quite a bit of money left over in the budget. We approached Lloyd's to see what a change order would be to demolish the slab, which takes us another step. And they had estimated a savings of approximately like $14,800 by not having to remobilize equipment. And then also at this time of year, they can use the cinder block to turn into aggregate. So there was a savings and a good price, $48,000 for the change order plus tax. So even together, they were below our budget. So it was a very, very favorable time to do it. And that's what's on the consent agenda, change order number 1.
All right. Council, any questions about this? Are we going to have 7 hard hats?
Let's see, 1, 2, yeah, maybe 8.
8? Yeah, that's
Maybe
right.
9, 10, I'm not sure.
Oh my God, I need one. Exactly. I'll be there.
No, we'll get some hard hats together, I'm sure.
So
All right.
what time is it?
10 a.m.,
10
about 10 a.m.
Okay.
All right. We'd love for you to be there, everybody. This is a great first step. All right. Any other questions, you guys? Okay, all right. So now we're to the most important part of the evening, citizen comment. Everybody knows the rules, 3 minutes unless you're speaking for 5 folks that are here. And I think everybody generally understands the rules of public comment, so I won't belabor the issue. Mr. H. David Kaplan. And then after that, Mohit Sharma. And then Gary Grant.
I was chair of the Tourism Enhancement Grant Committee when the criteria matrix was established to give a fair evaluation to all applicants. This scoring matrix was approved by Lodging Tax Advisory Committee and by the City Council. It was designed to score individual aspects of a grant request, including number of days of an event, zip codes of participants, and whether or not this was a new or returning event. The purpose of these grants is to provide seed money for events that will bring people to Federal Way who will stay in our hotels, eat in our restaurants, and shop in our stores. The sponsoring organization bears the burden of raising the majority of funds needed to make the event happen. We must all keep in mind that the TAG and LTAC are advisory committees. They make recommendations to the council, and it is the City Council who makes the ultimate funding decision. From my understanding of the Federal Way Cup Run event in item 6G on the agenda, its participants are primarily from Federal Way. Several races may be combined that could possibly bring tourists in to justify more grant support. But until that happens in the future and zip codes can be verified, 2014 funding authorized by the City Council seems appropriate. I would not appropriate additional funding at this time. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, H. David. Mohit Sharma. Then Mr. Grant, and after Mr. Grant, it's Rose Eel.
I'm probably going to make this really brief, but I was just wondering if it's possible to restart the Youth Commission. And I tried researching it online in regards to like if it exists or not, and I couldn't find any information about it. So I called and I was told to come here, so here I am. I think it's very important for the youth to get involved with the community instead of their schools, because that gives them sort of a real life experience that not only looks good on a resume, but also looks good when you're talking to other people about it, you know? And I guess I want to say that this is like the Youth Commission gives you an opportunity to come out of the school and outside of the whole high school processes, and you get to be yourself in front of strangers that you could be friends with. And I guess the last thing I want to say is not many people get the opportunity, not many high schoolers and middle schoolers, I guess, get the opportunity to show their leadership potential, because things like AOY are very limiting in terms of how many people could join, and leadership positions at school are very limiting as well. So I feel like if more high schoolers get involved with Federal Way as the city, as opposed to Federal Way as the separate schools, we could see more of a result in terms of teenage potential, if that makes sense.
It does. Mohit, don't go away yet. Great comment. Are you part of AOY 2.0?
Yes.
So
I wasn't there the first meeting.
Okay, so
unfortunately,
because I came and spoke to the group about that just last week. Yeah. Actually, Councilmember Honda has been working on this issue, and I know it's a big issue. All of us here are supportive of this. Mm-hmm. What I would suggest is maybe a subcommittee, an ad hoc committee of the council, and I'm going to have Councilmember Honda get together with you, and also have Councilmember Moore. Let's follow up on this and have some discussions, because we've got some ideas. And Lydia, Asafa Dawson. Is that okay, Deputy Mayor, to set up an... That sounds good. Okay. I should ask. It's the Deputy Mayor's Council, where I started appointing committees. But what we're going to do is we're going to set up an ad hoc temporary committee. This is a great idea. Thank you very much. Well, I'm going to need something from you, though.
Yeah.
Before you leave, can you please make sure you get with Brian Wilson, our Chief of Staff. Mm-hmm. We need your contact, email, phone, and I'll have you sit down with our ad hoc committee. Okay. We'll have you come to City Hall, and we'll talk about ways that we can reinvigorate. We've been talking about this for well over a year, mm-hmm. and so thank you very much for coming. This is just what we need to get the ball rolling.
Okay.
Good work.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. All right, Deputy Mayor Maloney, you have something? Did you want to be on the committee? Well, we can't do four.
Wait a minute, am I now Deputy Mayor? When did that happen? you just called me that,
Did I say that?
Yes.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God.
What was in your coffee today?
I don't know. Wendy says this all the time. Anyway, never mind. All right. Mr. Grant, you are on, sir.
Good evening, all. The last administration, I made a suggestion that you have street sweepers. We have our own instead of contracting it out. Now, we have currently a system where you have every quarter you have a cleaning. Madrona Trails did not have a street sweeping in the community since November. That means we missed one last year. We missed one at the beginning of this year. I was talking with Brian Wilson for the last month and a half about the situation. And finally, we got somebody out yesterday. Unfortunately, yesterday was garbage day. I called in, reported, so we got another one today. Now, my thing, and I brought it up, and I'm telling you now, I want a refund for the services that we did not receive. You have a contract, the job wasn't done, we've paid. There's no way that you can go back and redo that job. It won't work. Now, I did not get a response on what your process is for getting a refund from the city for services that you didn't receive, that you already paid for. That's okay. In the last 2 months or so, I've been talking with the mayor and chief of staff about an independent oversight committee. That committee is needed from just the things that I have heard tonight. When you have projects that you are talking about amongst yourselves, you encourage the community to reach out and join you, but it is a proven fact. People in the community are not going to participate fully in this kind of a group because they're not heard. When things don't go the way that people think that they should, and you have other people who are agreeing just because, you lose a certain group. An independent group draws in everyone. More things are achieved by these outside groups. We're thinking future, not past. Then think about the fact that we have an opportunity to have a group like this that helps this city to not make the same mistakes that got other cities and municipalities in the problems that they're in today. Don't continue to react with complaints. Let's move forward and not have complaints at all.
Thank you, Mr. Grant. In regard to the street sweeper function, we've got Mr. Saloom, Marwan Saloom, who's present tonight. We have management team usually on Mondays at 10 a.m., but we're going to have one tomorrow at 10 a.m. We'll address this, and I'll treat this as a citizen action request, what we refer to as a CAR. We'll have the contract pulled, and we'll see what the specifics were in regard to whether they need to go down each street. I don't know what the contract is, but we're going to look at that. We're going to, in Marwan, Mr. Saloom, will be back before this council on the 15th to give a report on the status of that contract and whether we need to look at it with regard to the performance, all right?
Still no answer to how you get a refund, and...
Well, that's what I need to look at.
Okay, and
I need to look at whether, we'll look at the details of the contract. I need to figure out if it's each and every street, or, well, we'll find out. We'll find out. We'll give a report back.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Grant. You're gonna hear back. And you're gonna hear back before the 15th. But everybody else will hear back on the 15th.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, Rosiel. Chief, can you please make sure that's on it? It's already right, great, thank you. Ziak. Oh, yeah. Sorry, we've got Mike Ziak as well.
Yes.
Mayor Jim Farrell, Deputy Mayor Jean Burbage, and City Council, thank you for allowing us this time to speak. I want to address two issues. We have committed to the mall for our Saturday market for this year. but we also addressed the thought of moving to a Wednesday market and having two markets, one Wednesday from 11 to 3, and then of course our one at the mall on Saturdays. And we're working on this to have it open this month. And we will know more time-wise this coming Saturday as to what day it will be open. So I just wanted to address that, so that would be a Wednesday market and then, of course, our Saturday market at the Commons Mall. So the other issue I want to talk about...
Rose, can I interrupt you just for a second?
Yes.
And if we could stop the clock. What time on Wednesdays?
11 to 3.
Okay. All right, go ahead.
Okay. And I wanted to address the issue of the Federal Cup. The idea of the Federal Cup started with two of the run leaders talking with Buddha Racing that handles the timing for all of our races. And she suggested we combine the races to challenge the runner to have the best score overall. And we had meetings on this and came up with the name, the Federal Cup. And we applied for a grant, and it went to the TAG subcommittee. And through their scoring matrix, they approved $6,000. And then it went through other committees, and the smaller amount came up with $3,000. So we are here tonight to request additional support for this, for the $3,000. And Mike Ziak is going to address other issues on the marketing.
And before Mike gets started, you guys, Mike is the individual who's the videographer for all of our neighborhood connection meetings, and you've been probably seeing those on New Day Federal Way, where the new programming we've had, the first new programming in 4 years, Mike has been responsible for it. So thank you, Mike, for all that great work. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. Well, I'm here just to discuss, as a Federal Way board, or Federal Way Farmers Market board member, the goal of our marketing efforts. And our goal with the additional funds would be to maintain the momentum that's been built up from advertising the Miles for Miso, and to help bring more notoriety to the runs. This is our third year, so we're relatively new. We're utilizing a lot of regional Pacific Northwest digital websites, runners' websites, as well as some locations between Tacoma, Auburn, Kent, and Federal Way we're focusing our marketing efforts on. And the additional funds would be used to, once again, maintain the momentum we've developed by advertising the Federal Way Cup through the Miles for Miso, and as well as developing additional mailers, signs, and other digital forms of advertising to target the people that have ran in the Miles for Miso, as well as upcoming races. So the additional funds would be used to help strengthen the campaign and bring some more notoriety to the farmers market, bring some more hits to the Federal Way Farmers Market, as well as the Federal Way's new tourism website that is also promoting the races. So we would see to it that the additional digital dollars and monies would go help fund additional advertising and marketing efforts. Our goal is to increase the race from 100 or so that we had last year to 200. So, and we expect those people to be, from out of the area, and we expect those people to also spend dollars shopping and/or dining after the races, so, and enjoying the farmers market.
All right.
So thank you very much for your consideration.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Rose. All right. Next, Tracy Hills, and then Robert Morrison is on deck.
Hello, Mr. Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and folks on TV. I'd like to talk about the carts. I like to volunteer and help out because I have an SUV that I can hook up your guys' trailer and pick up carts. I would like to know if I could do that days that they're not using it. Because I've been seeing a bunch of carts behind my street and by the Celebration Park. And I wanted to ask, when are they going to tear down the old Target building, since they're going to have the Toys R Us building down soon? Thank you.
All right. Tracy, why don't if I could have you connect with our chief. Actually, we've got our deputy chief, Kyle Sumter, in the back. He's going to He's going to talk with you about the cart recovery program that's been ongoing. And in regard to the Target, we don't actually own the Target site. It's independently owned, and I know they're looking at some different options. And so, but we'll talk about that after the meeting, okay? All right, thank you. Robert Morrison. Then we've got Norma Blanchard and Tim Burns.
Hello, Judge Farrell and the Congress. It was brought to my attention that we were looking for a bigger place for another building, and the only site that I could find was the old Kids R Us store that we're tearing down. So I was thinking underneath the conference center, put a banquet room under there so we can have like a big dinner or meetings or whatever. And then behind that, you could put a sky bridge over to the park, and then down from the park, with all the other stuff that we have going on, put a couple of fire hydrants at the corner, and then we can also use that parking lot up above, and then they can go across the sky bridge and then down into the other stuff.
It's a great idea, Robert. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Have a nice day.
You too. Norma Blanchard.
Good evening, everybody. I've been quiet too long. Now I'm going to bring up a new subject. You haven't heard it for a while, and it's called term limits. I'd like you to take it under consideration because I know the council can do this themselves. I've been investigating stuff. And it's like when you go to the doctor and you get a shot, it really hurts, but it's advantageous in the future. Think about it. Because I know the Koch brothers doesn't even know where the hell Federal Way is. And with 15% of the registered voters, it's hard for the people to get out there. We took the 90 days off from there, finally figured out that was just simple math. But we need to do something about the 15% of all registered voters, not the voters that voted in the last voting. It's all registered voters. So I'll be talking to you. You haven't heard the last of me. This is going to be something that's going to happen. So, hey, come on and help me, guys. It won't hurt. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Norma. All right. Tim Burns.
Mr. Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and City Council members, I've just got a few questions in regard to the PAC. I try to make all the City Council meetings, but sometimes I miss some. So these questions may have been answered previously, but I haven't heard the answers yet. There seems to be a lot of reliance on this $7.2 million tax credit. Is there a contingency plan if that doesn't come through at all? Do we have enough money to complete the construction without that money? Second question, how politically sensitive is that money? In other words, we've got a federal Congress that doesn't seem to be able to get anything accomplished. We're in the middle of an election cycle that could alter the Congress one way or the other. Is the money politically sensitive depending on which party is in power or if the two houses of Congress are split? And the third question is, what reliance will there be on local hiring for the construction of the PAC? And I'll look for answers sometime in the future.
Well, actually, I'll give you the answer to the first question, and probably the most important. Well, arguably the last one is probably the most important. But the $7.2 million, when we got together in this very room on May 8th and had our study session, one of the things that the Blue Ribbon panel said at that time, and that this council really adopted, was that we cannot rely exclusively on the $7.2 million. We have to assume that it would not come through, that there would be a, quote, worst-case scenario. And we did develop a worst-case scenario plan, in which case we would have to bond what was ever left over from that gap. We, on a worst-case scenario, if we didn't get that, maybe it's about $9 million, and that we would have to bond the difference at about $600,000 a year for that bondable period. So we would, as a council and in the mayor's office, we did not go forward and vote for that without taking in consideration, could we afford and did we have the resources to go forward if we didn't get the new market tax credits? The answer to the question is yes, there is a contingency.
Okay.
In regard to local labor or local hiring, yes, I've made sure that we are talking about that, that we are going to ensure that the folks that are building this are going to be a prevailing wage and local. And so the details of that we're working out. We're working out the details of that contract as day to day. But the contract has not been entered into yet for the actual construction. But those are very important components to make sure that the people that are building this facility, to the degree possible, are from here and that they're paid a fair and decent wage.
All right, thank you. In regard to the May 8th meeting, yes. I wasn't able to attend that, so I tried to watch it on Channel 21.
Yes.
And the audio was horrible on that. It was extremely difficult to hear and understand what was being said. So I may very well have missed the assurance on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Burns. Appreciate it. Oh, as to your second point in regard to the money from the federal government in regard to is it politically sensitive? I think there may be some regional considerations, but I don't think it's the type of money. But we can talk about that in greater detail later. We have a letter from Ryan Miller.
Dear Mayor Farrell, Deputy Mayor Burbidge, and council members, I'm writing this letter because I'm not able to be in attendance at tonight's council meeting, but wanted to voice my concerns of adding an additional $3,000 to the Federal Cup Run Series TAG award amount. The tourism enhancement grants are meant to be awarded to events that can bring in tourism business from over 50 miles away or has guests staying overnight. The TAG subcommittee and the LTAC committee review these applications carefully and recommend award amounts based on what they can bring to the city of Federal Way and to the hotels of Federal Way. While I think the Federal Way Cup Run Series is a good event for Federal Way, I do not think that more lodging tax dollars should help fund the event. In reviewing the post-event recap for the 2013 Apple Festival and Run, which was awarded $10,000 from TAG, it only brought in 97 participants. If further review, only 9 of those were outside the 50-mile radius, and only 1 of those 9 participants was out of state. While these runners might have got gas, food, and maybe shopped, they probably did not all stay in a hotel for the event. Having only visitors stay in hotels is an important part of our LTAC budget because those stays fund the LTAC budget. The city of Federal Way only receives 1% of hotel room sales, so for the LTAC budget to receive $10,000 in revenue, there would have to be $1 million in hotel room sales. If events are funded that do not enhance the tourism of Federal Way and bring money back into the lodging tax revenue, then we are defeating the purpose of the Tourism Enhancement Grant. As I stated before, I think that the Federal Way Cup Run Series is a good event, but I do not feel that it should be awarded an additional $3,000. If the council as a whole still feels strongly about rewarding an additional $3,000 above the LTAC recommendation, then the council should send it back to LTAC committee to revisit the application and the recommended amount. Thank you for your time. Ryan Miller.
All right. Thank you very much, Carol. All right, now let's move on to the consent agenda. The listed items A through E have been through the committee process, and they are on here for final approval. They are, item A, the minutes from the June 17th, 2014 special and regular meetings. B, vouchers. C, monthly financial report from May of 2014. D, home investment partnership program interlocal agreement. And E, Toys R Us demolition project, change order number 1 to demolish the building concrete slab and haul away. Deputy Mayor Burbidge.
I have a motion. I move approval of items A through E on the consent agenda.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion, or actually, would any council member like an item pulled? All right, is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. The matter passes. Council business, Ethics Board appointment, Councilmember Honda.
Thank you. I move to reappoint Fred Neal to the Ethics Board as a voting member with the term expiring June 30th of 2017.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Matter passes unanimously. Congratulations. Item C, confirmation of our Public Works Director.
B.
B, oh my God. Good grief. Planning Commission appointments. I was so quick to get to Marwan, I jumped over this. Planning Commission appointments, Councilmember Selsky.
Thank you, Mayor Farrell. So tonight, the council interviewed 3 excellent candidates for the Planning Commission, each of whom really would bring excellent qualities to the commission. So after deliberation, we decided on the appointments, and so I move to appoint Diana Noble-Gulliford to the Planning Commission as a voting member to fill the remainder of an unexpired term ending September 30th, 2016, and to appoint Anthony Marietta and Nicole Coleman Porter as alternate members with terms expiring September 30th, 2018.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, congratulations. All right, now item C, confirmation of Public Works Director, Deputy Mayor Burbidge.
Thank you. I move to confirm the appointment of Marwan Saloom as the city's Public Works Director.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? I just want to say, Marwan, you've done an amazing job for this community. Was it 19 years now? 19 years for this community. He's been, since Kerry Rowe has left, he's served in this interim role. Frankly, this has probably been one of the easiest decisions I've had to make since sitting in this chair. So thank you very much for your service, sir. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, you're it. Congratulations, sir. All right. D, relamping project, Aquatics area of Federal Way Community Center. Presentation by Craig Feldman.
Thank you, Mayor Farrell, Deputy Mayor Burbidge, rest of the council. As you know, I am the Aquatics Coordinator for the City of Federal Way, and I'm very pleased to update you on where we're at on this project. At the June 3rd council meeting, the council approved the initiation of a bid process to secure a contractor to relamp the aquatics area at the Federal Way Community Center with energy-efficient LED lights. Invitation to bid packets were emailed out to 5 qualified contractors from the MRSC Small Works roster, and there were 2 respondents to the invitations. Bid number 1 came in at just under $58,000, and bid number 2 came in at a little over $45,000. The reason for the discrepancy in the 2 bids was bidder number 2 came up with a very innovative way to insert the new lighting packets into the existing fixtures. So there would be no demolition of the existing fixtures, and our lighting would improve greatly by using them because they are movable. After careful consideration with your approval, we would like to enter into a contract with the Pacific Northwest Lighting Services, who provided the lowest bid for this project. Puget Sound Energy will be offsetting 50% of the total cost of this project, so the total cost of the city would be approximately $22,583. The contractor is responsible for securing the grant from Puget Sound Energy, and as such, they must provide documentation as to the overall energy savings that would be incurred by doing these upgrades. The contractor estimates that approximately $11,500 a year would be saved in energy costs, which means that the project should pay for itself within 2 years or less. My estimation is it will be considerably less than that. If approved, the project will be funded by the Community Center Capital Reserve Fund and would be completed during the Community Center's normal maintenance closure, which is the first week of September. I would be more than happy to answer any questions regarding this and hope that you will approve moving forward and issuing a contract to Pacific Northwest Lighting.
All right. Councilmember Duclos?
You want a motion?
Yeah.
Okay. I move to award the Federal Way Community Center Aquatics Area Relamping Project to Pacific Northwest Lighting, the lowest responsible bidder, and authorize the mayor to execute the contract.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions or discussion on this item? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, matter passes.
Thank you much.
Thank you very much. Rescheduling the August 5th council meeting. Betty, this is your item. Well, it's all of our items, frankly, but go ahead, Deputy Mayor Burbidge.
Thank you. I move to suspend Council Rule 2.11 for the purpose of rescheduling the August 5th, 2014 City Council regular meeting to August 12th, 2104. What?
2000.
There's a time of 14. To August 12th, 2014.
Think what that park's going to look like in 2104. That's what I'm saying. Hey, the tree will be really tall.
We're predicting the future.
Exactly.
I'll second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Okay, can we explain again why we're doing this? Is it to accommodate?
Yes. It's to accommodate the National Night Out events.
An important event.
Yes.
All right, anybody else? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? All right, the matter passes. Cancellation of August 19th council meeting, the next meeting. Deputy Mayor Burbidge.
I move to suspend Council Rule 2.11 for the purpose of canceling the August 19th, 2014 City Council regular meeting.
Second.
Okay, and before we have any discussion, can you explain why we do that? Or why we're seeking to do that?
This has become more or less a tradition in the city to allow people to enjoy that part of the summer.
That's right. We, for those watching either here and at home, we normally, the second meeting in August, we haven't had. We also do the same thing in December as well, so we don't run into the Christmas holiday season time. So, just so you know. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you. Item G, Tourism Enhancement Grant for the 2014 Federal Way Cup runs. And Patrick Wyatt, let's talk about 21. No, I'm just kidding.
I don't have a prediction for 100 years from now. Anyway, good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and Council. I'm Patrick Doherty. So this in front of you in your packet, you have an agenda bill that's coming directly to you, not coming from committee. And it does have to do with what you've already heard some testimony this evening about, which is additional consideration of additional tourism enhancement grant funding for the 2014 Federal Way Cup Run Series. So just as it says in your agenda bill, and I'll just summarize very quickly, during this past spring's 2014 Tourism Enhancement Grant Award round, the Federal Way Community Center actually took kind of ownership of this series of 4 runs this summer, and an application was made for $15,000 for that program. The application was considered, as you've heard, by the Tourism Enhancement Grant Subcommittee of the Lodging Tax Advisory Committee, and the recommendation from that subcommittee was an award of $6,000. That recommendation goes to the parent committee, which is the Lodging Tax Advisory Committee. The Lodging Tax Advisory Committee considered the matter, and based on their estimation of the relative tourism impacts and reviewing the scoring matrix, which you have a copy of, I believe, recommended that it be a $3,000 award, which came to Council. Council did approve that award on May 6th, and now you have in front of you consideration of potentially adding $3,000 to that award for the remainder. Two runs have happened, but there's 2 more to go. And that would, the ostensible purpose for the additional award is to allow for greater marketing to attract yet more participants and visitors from beyond Federal Way.
Councilmember Honda.
Thank you. The reason that I brought this forward, and Councilmember Moore was the second council member to agree to this, is that the Federal Way Cup is the first time that we've combined the 4 runs that happened, the 4 5K runs that happened in the city of Federal Way. And there is a lot of competition for 5K runs in the Puget Sound area. If you look at any of the runners magazines, every single weekend there are runs everywhere. And we need to try to somehow reach out to the runners who come from all over the country to run in the beautiful Pacific Northwest and try to get them here into Federal Way. The only way we can do that is with increased advertising. The subcommittee of TAG did support a $6,000 grant, and the Lodging Tax Committee did cut that to $3,000. MRSC, which is a source of information for council members and cities, has a whole page on lodging tax and what it can be used for. Lodging tax revenues can be used for tourism marketing, marketing and operations of special events and festivals designed to attract tourists. And that is exactly what I'm requesting the additional $3,000 for. If the $3,000 is awarded tonight, the breakdown of the spending would be $1,617 for an email blast to promote events to runners, $498 for online ads in the Sound Publishing newspapers, $285 for a full-color ad in the Red, White, and Blue special section pullout, $191.63 for the promotion of events with banners, $600 for posters, cards, flyers, mail, and mailers to runners, for a total of a little over $3,000. Federal Way has one signature event right now, which is Red, White, and Blues, and I doubt that that puts very many people in our hotels. But we do advertise it, and we do bring people in from around the region because we're one of the locations that has fireworks at night, and it's a great event. Perhaps with the right advertising, we can make the Federal Way Cup a signature event in Federal Way. So I'm asking for your support for this. Thank you.
All right. Council members?
A question.
Councilmember Duclos.
I'm kind of torn on this. Having been a runner in the past, I've done 5 and 10Ks, and I've gone to the cities where they've been sponsored. I've done the run, and then I've left. I've never spent any money there except to be in the run. So the tourism enhancement grant really is to bring tourists in, hopefully, whether they stay overnight or come in during the day and spend money. How does this fit in with that?
In the past, when I've worked with the Apple Cup, and this is more than the Apple Cup, this is the 4 runs, the people have stayed at Federal Way. They've gone to the Commons. They've eaten in our restaurants, especially the restaurants around the BPA Trail, because all of these runs take place around the BPA Trail, but they're all different courses. And so they are putting some money into Federal Way. But without the proper advertising, this event doesn't have the potential to grow. Advertisement is the key to growing any kind of an event.
All right. Councilmember Maloney. Councilmember Maloney.
Thank you. I agree that advertising is the key for making these running events really take off. And I don't feel as if they've had the opportunity to do that yet. Sometimes you've got to go ahead and invest a little bit in something, as we talk about frequently on some of the initiatives that we discuss. You need to invest in something in order to make it successful. And I think about my children who both did cross country with their schools. And when people who run go into an area en masse, they're not only the only ones there, but their families are there, their friends are there. They go watch them like many other sporting events. And if we could, if these runs are able to eventually bring in a lot of tourists, not only during the day, but I think if they're very successful, people will spend the night in the hotels. Then I think that would be something that we could enjoy the benefits of. And I think $3,000 is a little risk to take for something that could potentially pay off larger.
Councilmember Sefadowson.
Sure.
I do agree with what's been proposed. The reason being, we may not see the outcome right now, but I believe in the future there is going to be benefit to it. And combining 4 runs for $3,000, if you look at them collectively, I believe the impact is going to be greater than what we're saying or what we're seeing today. And so I'm in support of going ahead and increasing it to the $6,000 that they're asking for.
Council, any other?
Yes.
Councilmember South.
So a question, I'm not sure who to address this to, but we have already allocated $3,000, and so we've obviously spent some of that money already. Where have we spent that money? Is there something we can specify?
I'm not actually sure. I'm looking over that we've been invoiced yet for that amount. I don't think so. I don't think I've seen an invoice yet. Is that right, Rose? No, I don't think so. So the kinds of things that are invoiceable we could cover are advertising, as has been mentioned. Some of the professional, like the timing professionals, or some of the equipment that actually is necessary to produce a run is an expense that's invoiceable. But I don't think I've gotten an invoice yet. Usually it's after the event is complete. And while there have been 2 parts of the overall series that are complete, and this is unique because we don't normally have a multi-part event that spans 2 or 3 months, and this is going till October, so we've got a bit of time. We haven't gotten an invoice yet.
Okay, and then I'll just follow up on Councilmember Duclos. I too am a runner and have participated in these, and in the ones I've been to in different states actually, before I moved back to Federal Way, I just didn't see the kind of activity that would draw people to stay in the hotels. I mean, it's like she said, people come and go. I understand the idea of potentially investing this money, but at this point, I love the idea. I love the sequence of events, but I just don't think I can support this, especially given what our LTAC members have come up with and recommended to the council.
Councilmember Moore.
A question and a comment, Mr. Mayor. I'm really intrigued in our council reports that's submitted for the public and to us, and I'd like to get a better understanding of this, Patrick. It says under the background section, the TAG review subcommittee reviewed the application material and recommended an award of $6,000.
Right.
What's the specific reasons to why they did that?
Well, that's a good question, and actually, what you don't have in front of you, you probably should have. It's just more and more background information. You had it in May when you reviewed all of them. Was their scoring matrix, which has all the different events that are scored, and interestingly, I'll kind of share those scores and relative recommendations with you. So the Lions Car Show scored 20, and they recommended $1,000. The Women's Open at Twin Lakes scored 23, $3,000. The Garden Tour of the Symphony scored 19, $2,500, excuse me. Sudden Impact Fast Pitch by the girls was one of the highest scorers, 27, $3,500. The USSSA men's fast pitch was the highest scoring, 30 points at $3,500. The Sisters Catechism show at Center Stage scored 23, $3,000. I'll leave ours for last. USSSA men's championship scored 22, $3,000. And this event scored 21 on $6,000. So I'm not really quite sure that I can explain how the subcommittee's recommendation jives with the criteria or the scoring. But the subcommittee, of course, is a subcommittee of the lodging, what you appoint, the lodging tax. You don't appoint the subcommittee. And they debated it at depth and came up with their recommendation.
Councilmember.
Do you have more?
All right, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to follow it up with the comment.
Absolutely, yes.
Thank you. I too will be voting in favor of this because we can't get people to stay in Federal Way if we don't invest. And to me, it's about looking towards the future, and it's about embracing some of the unique parts of Federal Way and the activities that we can do to bring people together, whether it be regionally, throughout the state, or even just locally right here in Federal Way. And I know that based on my research and conversations, I know that we're doing a lot of things differently, the Federal Cups based on last year. And I know there's much more of an aggressive approach to make sure that the end result is successful and positive. And so with the movements that have been done and the fixes and the improvements that have been done from last year to this year, I am more than confident to sit here and vote in favor, thinking because I know that the future is going to be bright. I know that if we invest in our advertising and we're effective with that, I think the future can be where we can bring people in, where they can utilize our hotels and utilize whether it's shopping, whether it's eating, whether it's playing. I'm more than positive that's going to happen. And I know that this is just the beginning because I would imagine that there's plans to build around this, where there's other things that are going to happen with the Federal Cup. So I'm definitely going to be voting in favor of this. And I do want to applaud Councilmember Honda for her leadership on making sure that this is brought up and that we're paying attention to this, because I think this is one of many incredible things that happen in our community. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Duclo and then Deputy Mayor Burbidge.
Okay, yeah, I have a question if somebody could answer it. Is there a way for us to determine that this is actually bringing some business into the city? That certainly would help me. If we could determine, and even if we put it into practice this year to try to find out so that we can document a little bit, that would probably persuade me to be more supportive of this. Because this money really is tourism enhancement. Runners tend to run and leave, but if they do come with people and then they stay here and even go have coffee or something someplace or get something to eat afterwards, that would certainly help me.
Deputy Mayor Burbidge.
I could ask Mr. Doherty to respond, but I'll just mention briefly, one of the best predictors is the distance that a runner would come. And Mr. Doherty, would you like to?
Well, one thing I wanted to mention was we actually, as a city, have done something. I say we've practically established the statewide best practice on this, because we've given these grants for longer than most communities have, and we have established the entire time a post-event report requirement when the invoice is submitted. But now, as of last July, when the existing law came into effect that talks specifically about shooting for, there's not a requirement, but shooting for events, if you provide money to events, that they bring visitors from beyond 50 miles or overnight stays. The post-event reports now, by the state requirement that we've now adopted, are that they show that after the event is how many people came from beyond 50 miles and how many stayed overnight. Now, we don't have it down to the granular level of how many went for a cup of coffee, like you said, and how many went to the mall. So that's a little harder to determine. But at least at a higher level, we have been getting those reports, and now we've specifically required by state how many stayed overnight, how many came from beyond 50 miles.
And Deputy Mayor Burbidge, did you have an additional comment?
Well, Mr. Doherty, do you have available the previous amount that was allocated for the Apple Run?
For last year?
Yeah, LTAC.
I don't, I'm sorry.
Okay, all right. I would also add that, having been present for the LTAC's discussion on this issue, there was concern expressed about the number of folks who participate, who do come mainly from the local area, and also the fact that there are many of these runs, increasingly, throughout the region, so that this tends to decrease the numbers who would come from a longer distance. And that was my sense of the combination of those, the reasons that the LTAC voted unanimously not to allocate the additional funds, but to keep the funding at $3,000 for these 4 runs. And but I'm certainly eager to hear additional comments from the rest of the council.
Councilmember Moore, then Selsky.
Patrick, do you know, I know there's a number of zip codes that we're reaching out to. Do you know what the strategy is with advertising so that we can reach out to a bigger population? Because I know we're reaching an extensive amount of folks, like 20,000 individuals through an email blast, but do you know anything more about our advertising plan?
I think we heard that earlier. Michael Ziak was saying what the intention was for, but I didn't write it all down to be able to repeat it, and I don't know if you want to hear that again, but there was an enhanced advertising program that would be funded by this additional money. So I don't, if you want the detail, we'd have to bring back Mr. Ziak to state that. I don't.
Mr. Mayor, can we do that?
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think the goal is to reach the 20,000 through the blast, the email marketing campaign that reaches around Tacoma, South Tacoma, Kent, Auburn, those neighborhoods, Des Moines, not directly related, at least in the email blast, with outside of the Federal region, but at least within, a 30-mile radius, I think it is. I'm not exactly sure the approximate miles, but that's the goal, is to utilize or reach those communities. Digitally, we could reach people that might just be looking for runs. There's a couple of sites that are national runners, active.com, some things like that we're on and aggressively marketing with that reach nationally. So our ads are posted on that to enhance those and get more page hits and clicks and more awareness and more pop-ups of that. It requires some additional funds to reach that. So the goal is to try to build those on some of those sites too that are national sites that have local and regional implications.
Councilmember Maloney.
Thank you. Well, I was really happy to hear that you added on the national sites that you for the digital medium. And are we redirecting back to any city Federal Way sites like our tourism site or anything like that? Because I think that could encourage some of the for people who are further away who might want to come run in a different location if they can see what the city has to offer.
It does. They feature both sites, so
Great.
that a user could click on either the Federal Way tourism site as well as farmers market site.
Right. And the other thing I was just thinking about, this is a leap of faith, really. I mean, we're talking about putting $3,000, an additional $3,000 toward something that we hope will bring tourists and other people to our community, and I really see it as a small investment in a leap of faith. And this council and the city has done a lot of that type of stuff over the years with the sand sculpture event. It's actually only, 1% of what we're going to spend on the Performing Arts and Conference Center, and there's, so I'm seeing it as a very small investment in a leap of faith that could result in some good things for Federal Way.
We have the course has been listed on Google and YouTube for the past couple years, and I think it's like at 14,000 views, and it promotes the course that the race takes. And if you just in some simple search terms, it pops up within the top 3 hits of Google. So and that's just been organically growing since for 2 years. So the value and impact has been good. And so if you type in something like Apple Fest or Apple Festival, that video shows up. So we're enhancing even just organically some of the growth just by being on the web. So and directing not only the active.com sites to that site and the Federal Way, it's an organic type process that does take time and funds to increase, how often it shows up on the sites.
Councilmember Selsky.
Thank you, Mayor Farrell. So there's several other agencies that have requested these TAG funds, and we could really apply this logic to everybody. What if they all came back and said, gee, I would like more funding after we made the awards? So I don't know if any of these other agencies have requested a second look at getting more funds like the Apple Cup has. I see you shaking your head.
No, not that I know of, not to us.
Okay, I'm just concerned about that aspect of it. I mean, we made a decision based on a sound recommendation, and we could get these other agencies coming back, and so what do we do then? How do we favor one over another in allocating these funds? That's my concern.
All right. Councilmember Moore?
Yeah.
Did you?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And so in doing my forward thinking for next year, has there been any plans put in place or even discussions put in forth about making sure that we do tie in more of the tourism aspect and more of encouragement of staying here? Has that discussion begun? I mean, I realize I'm asking that prematurely because we're still doing this year's, but has that discussion begun for next year?
Well, I would certainly like it to begin. I think that if you could tie, sort of a weekend stay with food, meals, events, things to do, as well as do the runs, you could broaden the campaign, and you would need, of course, the hotels and possibly restaurants to, everybody step forward and combine efforts. But it would be a smart thing to do. I would vote for.
All right, Councilmember Honda.
Well, I'm not a runner, and sometimes I'm lucky to even be able to walk, but what I've heard from runners is that this course, and all the courses for each of the 4 runs are a little bit different, that they're courses that require runners to be in shape. They keep them thinking, and that they appreciate them, that they enjoy running on the courses. I wouldn't have made this motion or this addition to the agenda had not the subcommittee made the recommendation of the $6,000. And it's an unusual occurrence when a committee, even a subcommittee, makes a recommendation that it's changed. We often don't do that. So at this point, I'd like to make a motion that I move approval of an additional award in the amount of $3,000 to the Federal Way Cup Run Series.
Second.
That's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Deputy Mayor Burbidge?
Yes, I just would like to add that we do have something in place now that we didn't have previous to this year, and that is a reworked tourism website that we are only beginning to make use of. And I think this offers an opportunity for some very significant marketing at no additional cost to the city or to the Tourism Enhancement Grant Program. So I would just like to add that point.
All right. Council, any other question? Any other comments? Councilmember Duclos.
Just want to be clear what I'm voting on. Are we voting for 3,000 or a total of 6,000?
Total of 6.
All right.
Additional 3.
Right, additional of 3, so a total of 6.
3 was previously. This would add on another 3 for a total of 6. All right. Council, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Deputy Mayor Burbidge.
Nay.
Councilmember Asafa Dawson.
Aye.
Councilmember Maloney.
Aye.
Councilmember Honda.
Aye.
Councilmember Sulsky.
Nay.
Councilmember Moore.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-2.
Oh, we forgot Councilmember Duclos.
Councilmember Duclos.
I won't forget that.
I just did.
Aye.
All right.
Thank you.
Motion carries 5-2.
All right, take 2. All right, great, thank you. All right, great discussion, Council. Item H, Program Year 2014 CDBG Annual Action Plan Funding Agreement. Our new Human Services Manager, Jeffrey Watson. Mr. Watson.
Good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, Council members. I'm Jeff Watson. The item before you is an agreement between the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, or HUD, and the City of Federal Way regarding Community Development Block Grant funds for the 2014 program year. On June 19th, the HUD sent a letter to the city notifying us that the 2014 annual action plan had been approved and that our grant amount would be $649,000. They also requested that the agreement for this for the funds for this grant year be executed and returned to them within a 2-week period. Consequently, the agreement before you came directly to you and did not go through committee. We are requesting that council act affirmatively and approve the agreement and authorize the mayor to execute the agreement and allow us to return it to HUD.
Council, any questions? All right. Councilmember Honda.
Thank you. I move approval of the program year 2014 Community Development Block Grant Funding Agreement with HUD and authorize the mayor to execute said agreement.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
All right, there's been a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the matter passes. Thank you, Mr. Watson.
Thank you.
All right. Item I, resolution, interfund loan for the Performing Arts and Conference Center. Presentation from our Finance Director, Mr. Eruulu.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Deputy Mayor, Council. The interfund loan resolution before you is intended to be for a maximum of $13 million. It will be drawn as needed. It's for a 3-year loan term, and the clock starts running upon the first draw. It may also be paid back as soon as other funds are available. The interest rate will be at 1%, which is, again, is higher than what we are currently earning on our investment now, but much, much lower than what we will pay if we were to borrow from the outside. I'll be glad to answer any question.
All right, Council, do we have any questions? Councilmember Honda.
When do you anticipate the first draw of this fund?
If we were to start construction today, I would not expect the first draw because of the other funds that we will have in there now, probably until we're 3 months into it.
And construction isn't actually anticipated to truly begin in earnest till next spring, isn't that right? Ken Miller, our PAC director. Ken, could you please mic up and when do you expect us to begin construction in earnest, separate apart from groundbreaking?
There has been discussion on doing some preliminary construction in early 2015, but in earnest probably not till May of 2015.
So with that, would you think prior to the construction beginning in earnest, we've already, item 5E for our council minutes today talked about the slab removal, and so that's the ground is going to be ready, but we'll probably have some. Let me just say, Ken, when do you think the foundation's going to go in and all that?
We've had some discussions of early 2015, so maybe March, April. It depends how quickly the final plans are done and how comfortable they are, but it would be early 2015.
Okay. So with that being said, Ade, because I wanted you to have that additional information. So if we did the foundation, pouring of the foundation, the ground's going to be already ready by then. If we're looking around March, April, May, when do you think you'd see the first drawdown of that $13 million?
Okay, because with the budget amendment that is coming after this, we will have about close to 9,000 there to be able to spend for the foundation and all of that. So I still foresee probably if we start construction in March, probably enough time to be able to spend that several millions before we have to dip into these loan. So depending on how fast they are doing the construction, how fast they are doing the building, but we have several $1 million that we will spend before we tap into this interfund loan.
All right. Councilmember Maloney.
So, in regard to the new markets tax credits, because you explained to us that in order to get allocated with that, or get the money from them, we have to have a certain amount of money, and preferably the 32 million, basically, or the total amount in order to get from them, right?
Right.
So, if we approve this today, is that considered part of it, or is it only when we draw it down?
No, because they haven't allocated anything to us, it doesn't really matter. If they were to allocate to us today, they would expect us to have that money. But for our application, when the consultant is taking our project around, to have this resolution as part of it is part of what is considered as us being ready. Even though we're not really using that money, but the resolution is there for us to use if we need it.
Okay, so approval today is sufficient to go towards the amount, the total amount we need in order to get money from the new markets tax credits when we get to that point.
In order to make our application have a better chance, yes.
Okay, so we don't have to draw it down in order to.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Council, any other questions? All right. Councilmember Duclos.
I move approval of the resolution authorizing the intra-fund loan.
I'll second.
Is there, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Matter passes unanimously. Item 7, ordinances, first reading. Item A, Council Bill Number 651, amending Federal Way Revised Code 12.45 taxi cabs. We'll have a presentation by Interim City Attorney Amy Jo Pearsall.
Thank you, Mayor. Deputy Mayor, City Council. King County has a countywide system of licensing taxi cab and for-hire vehicle drivers. It's a complicated licensing and regulatory system, and as a result, it lends itself to a centralized administration. Because of that, in 1991, we entered into an interlocal with King County that allows the county to regulate all cabs in the city. And in fact, they have this interlocal with most cities in the county so that the regulation of taxi cabs is a centralized regulatory system throughout the entire county. As a result, that interlocal requires the city to adopt the King County Code so that they can have consistent enforcement of their regulatory scheme throughout the county. With the rise of these transportation network services, an example is Uber, you may have heard of that. It's been an issue in Seattle. King County has studied the impact of the rise of these new services and has created some regulation so that these network drivers have to meet the same requirements as any taxi cab driver or any other for-hire driver. As a result, they sent us their package of ordinances, changes to their code that we need to adopt. And in looking at that, we realized normally if we need to adopt someone else's code, usually it's state law, we do that in adoption by reference. That makes the most sense because if there's any additional changes, we can just adopt those automatically as they update theirs. Ours updates because we've adopted theirs by reference. When we looked at the way that we adopted King County's code with regard to taxi cabs, we didn't do that. Instead, we literally cut and pasted their code into our code. And as a result, in order to change the code that we need to now, the updates that King County made to theirs, we would have to literally go through and change words, tons of words. And I'll just show you an example here. It's the entire ordinance that they passed that has tons of strike through and underlines and whatnot. So what we're recommending is that we go to the system that we use today, which is just adoption by reference. So as a result, the proposed ordinance in front of you would repeal our taxi cab ordinance in its entirety, which again, it's just the King County code literally cut and paste into our code, and instead replace it with the language that is here that says that we adopt King County's code and all its future amendments as our own, and that anytime it says King County, we would substitute it in Federal Way. Again, this is required by the interlocal. We need to do this anyway, but this large amendment triggered that we hadn't, just the construction of how we do that isn't the way that we prefer. And so this ordinance would achieve two things. One, it would get it to the way we like it, and two, it would then thereby adopt all of these new regulations that would have these network drivers be regulated just like taxi cab drivers or for-hire drivers. So if there's any questions.
Council, any questions? All right. Would the city clerk please read the ordinance title?
An ordinance of the City of Federal Way, Washington, amending Federal Way Revised Code 12.45 taxi cabs.
All right. Councilmember Duclos.
I move to forward approval of the ordinance to the July 15th, 2014 council meeting for adoption.
I'll second.
All right. It's been moved in second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. The matter passes. Thank you very much, Amy. Amy Jo. All right. Item B, Council Bill number 652, 2014 budget adjustment. Presentation by Aday.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and Council. The budget amendment that we have before you is intended to accomplish certain goals. One of them is to be able to reflect all the changes that the Council made in the past few months. It's also to meet the requirement of Ordinance Number 03-451, Section 6. That is the ordinance that we use to do the bond refunding. And that, or to do bonds, that required that we create a separate debt service fund, so that when you're looking at our report, you'll be able to see, okay, this is how much you pay for this year. This is how much you're using, not with other items. So this resolution is intended to do that. It's also to meet the requirement of Ordinance Number 12719, Section 14, the bond account and deposit of bond proceed, so that when we sell bond, it's supposed to go into a separate account so that the payments are made out of that. Appropriation for performing arts and conference center construction, as I mentioned in the earlier interfund loan, the money, when we're making the presentation to you several weeks ago, the money that we say we have, so we need to move it into a separate account to be able to fund this construction project. So that is what this would do. Without this fund or this ordinance, we actually would not have appropriation to do that. Also, one of the goals is to reallocate all the previous appropriations that we made out of utility funds and REIT funds, so that we realign them to be able to free some other money up for other things. Example is like REIT fund, you can only spend part of REIT fund on construction, or to pay a debt service on construction. Yes, then utility fund, you can pretty much use most of that for anything. So we want to free up the utility fund to be able to give the council more latitude. Also, one of the goals is to implement the reserve fund policy that you approved, a couple of weeks ago, so that we're able to put in a separate bucket the strategic reserve fund in a separate bucket, the general fund, reserve fund, so that those are properly identified and properly put away for the rainy day. Also, for the creation of separate health insurance fund, liability insurance, and unemployment insurance fund. Now we have all those three in one fund. The risk management. The health insurance, for example, because it includes both employees and employers' money, it would be good to have that separated and identified separately. Also, because it's a new program that the council approved, it would be good for us to be able to identify that by itself for you, so that you see how the new insurance program is going. By having it with other three funds, it will take a little bit of explaining for you to see what we're doing. So that is part of the goals that this budget amendment is supposed to accomplish. Create several new funds to be able to clean things up and reappropriate certain funds to make to authorize some of the actions that the council took several weeks ago.
All right. Council, any questions about the budget adjustment? All right. Councilmember Duclos.
I move to forward approval of the ordinance to the July 15, 2014 council meeting for adoption.
Second.
Can we have the title read?
Oh,
that's right.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Federal Way, Washington, relating to budgets and finance to revise the 2013-14 biennial budget.
All right. Councilmember Duclos.
Again, I will move to forward approval of the ordinance to the July 15, 2014 council meeting for adoption.
I'll do a second.
Exactly. Take two. All right. All right, is there any discussion? It's been moved and seconded. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the matter passes. Council reports, Councilmember Duclos.
Oh, okay.
I didn't forget about you. Oh, was that my outside voice? All right, go ahead.
Hi. I was reading in the paper this morning about oil tankers, and I think I'd made a report on this a while ago from my RPC thing. But it was in the Times this morning, and it's something the rail industry has not been too eager to tell the public, where the trains are going and how many there are. They stated they were concerned about terrorism if people knew where these trains were. However, the U.S. government has declared that train movements are state secrets also. In Pierce County, the Burlington Northern Santa Fe Railroad is currently moving 11 to 16 major oil trains through University Place, Tacoma, and other communities. Now, our state, according to the article, is acting faster than most. And this year, our legislator appropriated nearly $1 million to develop some response plans. I think I've talked about the need for us to have response plans if anything happens. Unfortunately, they failed to take one important step. They didn't impose a barrel fee on railborne oil, which means the taxpayers, you and I, will all be paying for it. So I hope our state will try to fix that during the next legislative session, and we might want to try to remind them about that. Also, just to give you an idea of the growth of this industry, in 2011, 0 crude was sent to Washington refineries by rail. In 2013, that 0 had grown to 29 million barrels. And I know we're not directly affected by it, but down the valley could be, which would mean that if something happened down there, we would also be affected. So I think it's important that we keep an eye on this, and we might even make it a part of our legislative agenda down there, that our state get out there in front of things and make sure that if anything happens, these companies are held responsible. And the other thing I'd like to say is last night, Councilmember Safa Dawson and I had the pleasure of being at the Aquatics Center, and we were handing out award medals to the very young women's synchronized swim teams. It was amazing to see all these youth so involved in this sport and so happy to receive even a 7th place win ribbon. Being the two of us being at the very end of the line, we were able to handle out the silver and gold medals, so we got the really good ones. And so it was a fun time, a wonderful night. I hope to get a chance to to do it again. And for the first time, I was taller than everybody else that I was handing the medals to. And that's the end of my report. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I'm going to do my report from last week, 2 weeks ago rather. I know that the last council meeting we talked about the inclusion program done at the community center. I thought that was a very exceptional idea, and just want to thank the city staff that have put that together. I think it's really important because during that presentation, if you guys recall it, 3 words came up to my mind: all means all, and I believe that we're doing it. Our city is making that happen. Secondly, I was able to, along with my colleagues, Councilmember Safa Dawson and Councilmember Susan Honda and I, were able to attend the Association of Washington Cities. This is my first time on an excursion trip like this, working trip that is, and I've learned a lot. I got to meet a lot of our regional leaders, and so that was an extraordinary opportunity where I got to take in some information and certainly look forward to growing from that experience. Also, recently, I had the opportunity to stop by the annual High Lobos picnic some time ago now, which was a very enjoyable event, beautiful weather. And of course, the Habitat for Humanity had its number of housing, open houses. And I think a lot of our AmeriCorps members and Habitat for Humanity teamed up in our Westway community to build some of these houses, and I think that's an extraordinary opportunity. And so it was really incredible having the chance to be there and to support this program. Also had the opportunity to attend the Flag Day ceremony, which was a wonderful experience. And also wanted to give out a shout out to a few individuals. Every Mondays, I take the time to serve our poor and our homeless. And this is part of the Community Caregivers Network. And it's something that our former Deputy Mayor Hope Elder has put together. And I wanted to take the time to give a shout out to our brand new high school graduates, to Josh Dawson, Ian Smith, and Yosef. They're brand new graduates from the Federal Way School District, and their very first day from being a graduate, they had the opportunity to come and serve. And that spoke volumes. And I think it was incredible to see the next generation of people doing humble type of work. So I wanted to take the time to say thank you. Also, I'm noticing that we have our Action members, Action Club members in the audience. So just wanted to do a shout out for them. And of course, want to wish everybody and to the people that are listening a safe and wonderful 4th of July, and look forward to seeing my colleagues at the Celebration Park. Thank you.
Very good. Councilmember Selski.
Thank you. Yes, I'd like to add my congratulations to Marwan Saloom for his, I guess, permanent assignment as our new Public Works Director. I've had the chance to work pretty closely with Marwan the past couple of years on the Land Use and Transportation Committee. It has been nothing but a pure pleasure to work with Marwan, and I look forward to continuing to work with you, Marwan, in this endeavor. So, congratulations. What an exciting time. We have all kinds of things going on. We have park openings coming up, and I was just thrilled today when Ken Miller told us we're going to have a ceremony to kick off the demolition of the Toys R Us building. I mean, just so many things to look forward to, and a great time of year for this in the summer when we can all get out and enjoy these activities. So I encourage everybody, all of our members of our community, to get out and enjoy these parks, these openings, and all the things our city has to offer. Then the last thing, I would just like to say that our next Land Use and Transportation Committee meeting is scheduled for next Monday, the 7th of July, in these council chambers. And that's it.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Honda.
Thank you very much. I was very happy to be able to attend AWC over in Spokane last week with Lydia and with Martin. I think we all learned a lot, and I came home with, this was my 3rd time attending that conference, and every time I come home with more information that helps me do a better job at what I'm doing. I attended the King County Flood Control District meeting last week. Yeah, I guess it was last week. It's been a long week. And that was very interesting. You know, we don't have a river flowing through our town like many of the cities, down, especially down in the valley, but we do have flooding concerns that could happen here. So a lot of interesting information. The Korean Cultural Month was a series of events that went on through the month of June. We had an event at the Federal Way Commons, a cooking contest, and I was there, as well as many other of the council members. Today I attended the City Vision meeting, and there is a feeding program this summer for children 18 and under, and it's called I don't know what it's called. It's called Kids Eat Free this summer. But kids ages 18 and under can eat free meals at schools, parks, community centers, and more. And this is the flyer. I brought some back from the meetings so that we can have them here at City Hall. And there are about 20 sites in the city of Federal Way that kids can eat free this summer, every single day. So if it's something that you need, or you know that someone needs that help, please ask for one of these flyers and we can get it to you. And you can look up the closest site to your location where you live, because they're all over the city. It should be an easier process to find a location close to you so that you can get food for your children. I'd like to thank Shelley Pauls and John Fairbanks with their help on the 4th of July parade. We have put this on Facebook. It's been in the newspaper. There have been letters sent out. There have been postings at Starbucks, which I have found in the past. People actually do read the bulletin boards at Starbucks. And so I am hoping for a lot of kids. I have 240 flags, and I hope to give every single one of them out. And many of you probably read in the newspaper that King County is considering closing the public health facility here in Federal Way. I know our mayor is going to be taking this to King County with our concerns and our real concerns with this, not only with closing that facility, but with the transit cuts that could happen. You know, we need to be really proactive and try to work on this. And the next Parks, Recreation, Human Services, and Public Safety Committee is July 8th, next week, next Tuesday at 5:30. Thank you very much.
Councilmember Honda, we're having Dow Constantine here tomorrow at City Hall for an individual meeting with just he and I. And so that's one of the items on the agenda that he and I will be discussing. So thank you very much for bringing that up. Well, it is very, very important. So, Councilmember Maloney.
Thank you. I won't take anyone's time. I think that I pretty much gave my council report already tonight with the rebranding ad hoc committee report. So thank you.
Great, thank you. Councilmember Asafa Dawson.
Yeah. The fire that happened at Crestview Apartments a couple of weeks ago, I just wanted to thank the community for reaching out, for supporting them, especially our community center in Federal Way and the Federal Way School District, who really made a concerted effort to support those families. So I just wanted to say thank you. And like Susan and Martin said, we were able to go to the AWC conference in Spokane. And what a great learning experience to be around other people who are doing what we're doing, but also as the newest member on this council, it was a great experience. I was able to come back with a lot of takeaways. And Susan, thank you for your support, because she was also telling me what were very important, crucial for me as a new council member, which sessions to attend. But for me personally, the two standouts that I come back with is empowering the youth in our community, and I'm glad you mentioned that here tonight, to find a way to be inclusive and involved, and how especially the city of Spokane is utilizing the youth in their community decision making. And also some of the cities that have diversity and that do have support and liaisons that do serve those other communities. And City of Federal Way, we have over 106 languages spoken, which really means we have a huge diversity here in our community, language, culture, religion, and everything else. So I think it's a great opportunity for us to also find a way to embark on bringing those communities together, and or find ways to encourage them to express their culture and whatever it is out there that they would be interested in bringing to our community. So those are my biggest takeaways, and hopefully we will be able to do something about that. And then, yes, yesterday the synchronized swimming, it was great. It was hot in there, and Deanie was fun to be with, and we laughed a lot. But just wanted to also say the competition is still happening until Saturday. So if you have time to swing by there, I think it would be great. Our support would be very helpful to them. And so, yeah, I'd like to go back again and encourage everyone to do so. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Dawson. Our Deputy Mayor Burbidge.
Thank you very much. The next meeting of the Lodging Tax Advisory Committee is next Thursday, a week from this Thursday, July 10th at 8 o'clock in the morning, and that's followed, as was mentioned earlier, by that demolition of the Toys R Us building. Then I wanted to mention also that I also helped with the awards at the Aquatics Center this afternoon, and I would really encourage folks to take in that synchronized swimming, those competitions. They continue tomorrow and then through Saturday, beginning at 9 o'clock in the morning at the Aquatic Center. Those folks who are participating in the synchronized swimming competitions have practiced and developed amazing techniques, and they're beautiful to watch and so impressive. So I encourage folks to take those in when you have the time. I must have read the same editorial that Councilmember Duclos read about the rail cars that carry oil, and I share her concerns. While we don't have those tracks through Federal Way, as she said, they certainly are nearby in nearby cities, but they're also throughout the region, they're throughout other states. And from what I have been told at Transportation Committee meetings in South King County, and many times the cars that are being used are old cars that really need to be replaced, and that's been acknowledged. I would really hope that people would get behind encouraging this to happen sooner rather than later. This would provide more employment for a lot of people to also, and make that transportation of the oil safer for all of us. Also, Councilmember Honda mentioned the Korean Festival at the Commons, and several of us participated in the judging of the cooking. And the entertainment was wonderful. The Federal Way Youth Symphony performed. They were beautiful. The K-pop, the youth groups were outstanding in their performances. And they had origami going on, the paper folding that's incredible for the young people in particular. It was really an outstanding event. And when I hear the amazing recital of upcoming events and past events, I would just say that Federal Way is on the move.
Oh, that sounds like a tagline. Wow. Okay, write it down.
You might have a career in branding.
Exactly. All right, so we do have an executive session, and I see that we are approaching the 10 o'clock time frame. Is there a motion to, can we do like a particular time frame, like 15, 20 minutes, or?
We just need a motion to extend beyond 10 o'clock. It doesn't have to be a specific time, although you can do that if you'd like.
Is there, Deputy Mayor Burbidge?
Yes, I would move that we extend the time past 10 o'clock.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
All right, is there any discussion? It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, opposed? All right. Yeah. And we're going to break right now for the executive session, but for those tuning out at least or leaving in the hall, just want, on behalf of everybody here, have a very safe and happy 4th of July. We'll be out in a few minutes. Tracy, hey. Hey, buddy.